Now, you know, when a Prime Minister's in trouble, he finds even more, doesn't he? Anthony Albanese today went to a Tasmanian fish processing factory to promote the salmon industry. Now, the Tasmanian Premier had actually dared him to do this because Albanese's Environment Minister might soon scrap salmon farm permits that environmentalists claim threaten a little-known skate. Now, Albanese gave only 90 minutes of warning that he'd go to this factory, but protesters were onto him like a flash. He still couldn't dodge them.
Well, thanks very much to Julie Collins, to Senator Urquhart and also to Brian Mitchell as the local members. Very much impacted where jobs are dependent upon this industry.
Not actually a fan of hecklers, but still. The Prime Minister also faces another environmental battle as his government ramps up this massive build-out of wind farms. Now, in Queensland, we've already seen locals fighting the wind farms in forests around Caban. They've got massive towers there now on the hilltops, more than a quarter of a kilometre high. And there's another one planned near Chalumbin, near a rainforest. And now filmmaker Steve Nowakowski and locals are fighting a plan for Moa Creek, near Rockhampton, 58 wind towers there that they claim will threaten rare species. Joining me is our Wednesday political panel, Michael Costa, former New South Wales Labor Treasurer, and Cameron Milner, former Chief of Staff to Labor leader Bill Shorten, now head of GXO Strategies. Cameron Milner, the government now seems in a hard place with wind farms especially, you know, revolt against ruining the landscape. You're seeing it in several states. Now claims it's hurting the seascape, the little-known skate. What's happening with its green credentials?
Well, the good thing, I guess, is what Tanya Plibersek just did last week, which she actually cancelled a wind farm. She cancelled the wind farm at the Port of Hastings, which was a Victorian government project. It had gone through the Victorian approvals, but as soon as it got to the federal approvals, she executed it. She knocked it off. Because it wasn't good for the environment. So it is possible to knock over a wind farm because it doesn't meet environmental conditions. So it's good if you're an oil rig, a coal mine or a wind farm now, you have to actually meet really strict federal environmental conditions. I congratulate Tanya Plibersek for making the right call on the Port of Hastings and stopping what would have been a horrible outcome for the environment with that wind farm proposal in that part of the world.
You can't tell me enough about that. That was a wind farm construction facility at the Port of Hastings, just not far from where I live. I do not want that, and nor do many locals. But Michael...
and nor did Tanya Plibersek, I mean, which is good.
Well, that is good, but I mean, against that are a number of other decisions. But the thing is, Michael Costa, where is it? I mean, it's, you know, on the other hand, one hand, it's gone really massively in for wind farms generally, but it's creating a huge backlash. Tanya Plibersek's decision last week, notwithstanding.
Well, up here in the Hunter, it's it's on fire. The proposal for that offshore wind farm, I can tell you, has galvanised all sorts of people in the region you wouldn't think would get together in opposition to it. And I think fundamentally, Andrew, there's always been this contradiction between real environmentalists, as I call them, people are concerned about their local environment and the amenity of that, and the sort of global doomsday cult that focuses on global warming and the sort of global type issue, the globalists. And I think you're starting to see the contradiction catch up with Labor because it finds itself on the wrong side of that argument. You know, it needs local votes to win elections, but it's well and truly tied in with the sort of global doomsday cult. And worse still, it's got, Chris Bowen trying to sell the policy. This is the bloke that, destroyed Bill Shorten's chances with that idiotic, if you don't like it, don't vote for us. And that's exactly what he's doing here. He's going around, telling half-truths and, putting sort of an arrogant approach that if you're not for the saving the planet, somehow you should vote against them. And that's what's going to happen. That's what's going to happen. In the meantime, 440 nuclear plants in the world, right. 220, research plants, 100 more nuclear plants to come next year. It's just absurd, the position that Bowen's put.
Well, you mentioned the Hunter, of course. Marginal Labor held seat two there, and they're in danger. But Cameron Milner, the Chinese ambassador, last week he warned Australia not to support Taiwan's independence from China or would go over an abyss, a real threat. And today he'd held a big press conference saying, well, actually, he wanted more from our relationship. But there was one particularly interesting thing. Last November, the Albanese government accused a Chinese naval ship of using an underwater sonar to injure some of our divers from the HMS Toowoomba, who were in international waters off the coast of Japan. They're trying to clear the propeller. The ambassador today denied it and blamed China's traditional enemy, Japan. Have a look.
They didn't initiate the so-called sonar against the divers from Australian side. What they said is, should they have initiated the sonar from the Chinese ship against the divers, it would cause immediate fatality. There was a third country boat nearby. Whether or not there was sonar from the other side, other party, we're not sure.
Yeah, which country is that?
Japan.
I haven't seen the ambassador's comments, but I stand by the comments that we've made at the time. We made strong representations to China about this incident.
Cameron Milner, is the ambassador a liar?
Well, listening to the Chinese ambassador is excruciating because they have to sit through Chinese opera. There are so many excuses from this guy. One day he loves us, one day he hates us. He's obviously just the mouthpiece of Beijing. And for a country that can't tell us what happened in Wuhan, where coronavirus started, why would we believe them about the sonar attack? I believe Richard Marles, I believe the Prime Minister, I believe the Australian Navy. They all said the Chinese Navy did this to our divers who are in the water. That's who I believe in this situation.
You might recall, of course, that the Prime Minister had an opportunity to confront the Chinese dictator to his face when they were in a meeting in America, and he didn't take that opportunity. What is happening to this relationship, Michael? I know the government did not respond last week to the ambassador's warning not to back Taiwan's independence or else. Have we been cowed at all?
Well, look, Australia's position has to be that we will stand in support of democratic nations. If China wants a policy that says one China, I'd support that, provided the Chinese Communist Party had democratic elections within mainland China, and I'm sure even the Taiwanese would support that. And the fact is, we support countries that have our values, and Taiwan has our values. They have a functioning democracy. The relationship with China is clearly one that's tempered by our economic requirements, but we should never compromise on our values and our fundamental political philosophy. And I think it's always going to be a tightrope.
And Cameron, how do you think the government's projecting internationally on issues like China?
Oh, look, I think Albanese missed a huge opportunity with Xi, and obviously wanted to be called a handsome boy and to kowtow. I mean, he was weak on that moment. So we've discussed that before. I am worried about us. You know, we don't seem to be right on Taiwan. We're certainly not right on Hamas and Gaza with what Penny Wong's doing right now on her trip over there. So no, internationally, Australia's got to have a proper reset and work out who our democratic friends are and who our real allies are.
Cameron Milner, Michael Costa, thank you both so much for your time.